Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evan. It's good to be with y'all today. Hope everyone's having a good day. And congratulations to you, Kit, for you have claimed the crown of firstdom yet again. Well done. It is yours still yet, but mayhaps it may fall tomorrow to another. But good to see you, Kit. Good to see you, Mel. Good to see you, Beer Fox. We're going to be getting back to some Minecraft. Starting in our modernist house. Should be a lot of fun. I have some ideas. I think it'll look good. I hope. But we'll get there. And Mel, I hope you have a great time. Oh no, meat mass. That won't trigger until we're on the actual game screen. I'm sorry, squirrel. It will show up. Mel, have a great time at the play. That sounds like a lot of fun. And Beer Fox, I didn't know you liked Frank Lloyd Wright. That's awesome. I love Frank Lloyd Wright as well. There's a really cool part of the Met where they have a study from his, like, one of his personal houses that they have lifted and just plopped right in the middle of the museum, and it's really cool to see. Anyway, before we dive in, do want to give a thank you and a shout out to Wawa Kasana for the follow. Thanks so much. Makes me think of Wawa, the gas station, which has way better food than you'd expect. Dance time. Yeah, there you go. But all right, well, let's go ahead. Let's dive in. Frank Lloyd Wright was your descent into mid-century modern love. Nice. Let me re-trigger that meat mass for you. Hey, you got red. Martin House in Buffalo, nice. Okay, so the gospel today is kind of Jesus talking about the straight and narrow and saying on it. And I actually had mass with the sisters today, which I'm excited to talk about this because, you know, who your audience is impacts what your homily is. So the homily I gave was very much focused on the idea of what it means to be on the straight and narrow in religious life, and that, you know, in some ways we have found it. We're not perfect at it, but we found it for our lives. But sometimes we stumble and we fall, but, you know, God still sees us trying and helps us get up and helps us to try again. I didn't know he did an Orthodox building. I'm gonna have to look that up. Why would I want anything from a century that was mid? Sick burns. Good afternoon, voices in my head. Well, good afternoon. The head in which the voices reside, I suppose. Hello, Brad. The other house off Lake Erie was actually a convent monastery for a while. Huh. Did not know that. Let's make some of those. Mom is here. All right. Have fun. Hello, Mrs. T. Gray. Realize there are some things in here we can move, like this crafting table that we will need. However, all the chests are basically full, so that'll be another problem. I swear I'm gonna fall in that hole by the end of this construction project. Annunciation Greek Orthodox Church in Annunciation. Looks kind of spaceship-like. Well, that does sound like Frank Lloyd Wright. Okay, so the design of this house, what I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Pulsive Luce fan art is coming out is amazing. Let's go. Yeah, I've seen some really fun stuff. So the general idea is that this is going to be a 2-story house that's kind of an L shape of 2 blocks on top of each other at right angles. So 1 block's going to come this way, and then 1 block's going to go this way. So I need to clear out some of this land. And of course it will have a pool because modernist house. How did the candy store turn out? I thought, well, it's brightly colored and fun. I can show it in a little bit. Because we'll probably have to head back that way to get some resources. I think I'm gonna level it off down 1 more. And build from here. My shovel is too good. I keep breaking into the ground below me. Oh no, you missed the rota! Hold on. Brain is braining. The sort of condensed version is I had mass with the sisters today, con las hermanas, which is great. And the gospel talks about the straight and narrow in order to get into heaven, and kind of talked about that with the sisters of like, you know, and it's easy to think in religious life we've already achieved that, but you know, we're human too, and so we're still trying, we're still figuring it out. And Jesus sees us in the midst of that and helps us, and you know, we are on the straight and narrow of our life, but sometimes we also screw up. But again, Jesus is there, picks us up, dusts us off, and says, "Great, let's keep going. Let's try again." And I am very thankful for that. Anyway, Brent, you were asking about the candy store. There it is in all its brightly colored shenanigans. Where'd all the fish go? I had tropical fish in there. They despawned. Oh no! Minecraft does that with small entities. But we do have the Tide Pod wall, you know, for the youths. You're welcome, Kit. what am I looking for? I'm looking for quartz. Quartz? What about gravel? Do I have any gravel? Really need to come back and reorganize all of this. The church always looks odd when not all of it is spawned in. We just have the flying buttresses connecting to nothing. Although that would be a cool idea. What if we did a, like, ruins of, like, a castle? Like, just a few spaces of freestanding wall. Okay, now I want to... If you fire the quartz blocks, you get smooth quartz, which doesn't have... there's like a boundary, a barrier between each block if you don't. So the smooth will look better for the modernist design, I think. We're going to start with the light gray. Need to take this to the river really quickly. Make it solid. So this is going to be our first... The first floor is going to be this gray, and the second floor is going to be white. With the, with the quartz. So to make more concrete, we're going to need more sand, so let's go get some. And let's get there the fun way. Hey, Britt. And we'll swing on by the monastery as Sub-Zero is making. Hello, little monastery. Mod poll. Do I even have a mod in chat? Wait, Brayhard, you're there. Brayhard, quick, make a poll. Twitch app being buggy. Oh no! Okay, hold on. I would... Twitch app being buggy? I would never. If it's being too buggy for you, let me know and I can make one. We're gonna need a lot of sand because we're gonna need to make glass as well. Okay, let's find the hole and sleep for the night, though. There it is. Found my emergency bed. Have I had any trolls recently in stream? You had to moderate, they weren't just bots. No. I hope not. I don't think I have. And even the bots, I do follower-only mode, which is a good way to deal with like 99% of the bots. Why are you coming up with mischievous plans for Halloween? Early Burkadoo! A Burkadoo that's a result of debate discussion in a Discord part of. Burkadoo includes an example that we use too. Okay. It's a sin to disobey your conscience. What if your conscience is misinformed, misaligned, and that thing you did is actually a sin? Why would disobeying your conscience still be a sin in that case? If my conscience says eating a slice of pizza is a sin and I choose to eat it anyway, it doesn't make eating a slice of pizza suddenly a sin, yet apparently going against my conscience to do so would be. Well, what is the conscience and what is its role, I think is important context here. You can never sin. I would say you cannot sin against your conscience if your conscience is telling you to do something that is sinful, if that makes sense. Like, you just want to hand out candy. $137 worth of candy. That's a lot of candy. I hope you have fun. Let me get a lot of little ones at the door. But yeah, it's because like we are called to follow our conscience, even if it's leading us to do something wrong. But that's hard to talk about, saying it's sinful to avoid a sin, because then you're still following your conscience. I think that's worrying too much about. I think that's getting too into the theoretical. That's actually separating itself from lived experience and is not actually helping. I don't really have a way to answer that, I'm afraid. Like, I'm sorry I don't have a simple, neat-cut answer or flowchart. Wish I did. But yeah, it's one of those where it's like, it's kind of, it makes me think of the arguments of like, can God make a boulder so big even he can't lift it? It's like, well, that's not really a helpful question. So, but hold on, let me make this poll. Boom. Another example was brought up. If your conscience said that not going to Mass on Ash Wednesday was a sin, and you didn't go, You would be in sin because you disobeyed your conscience, even though it's not a day of obligation. Yeah, that's not how the conscience works. That's the premise of the question is faulty. I think is what I'm trying to get to. The anthropology underlying it is not fully coherent with Catholic anthropology. So I understand the desire to understand how we obey our conscience, how we form our conscience, etc., and that's good. And there is such a thing as disobeying your conscience, that leading you into sin and doing the wrong thing. I don't think it's a blanket statement to simply say disobeying your conscience creates sin, because if you are disobeying your conscience, which is misaligned or misformed, then you're like, it's not always just about the results, but like if you're actively choosing the good that your conscience is telling you not to do, well, then you're choosing the good. I think there's more room to talk about disobeying your conscience being a sin if your conscience is telling you to do something good. You know, like if you're at a store and, you know, you're like, oh, I want that. And your conscience will be like, don't steal it, pay for it. And you're like, haha, nope, stealing it. Well, yeah, okay, you have both sinned for stealing and also against your conscience. But if you're going to say sinning against your conscience or disobeying your conscience is always a sin, then you're not leaving any room for people to grow their consciences. You're not leaving any room for change or conversion, because you're saying, well, they'll still be sinning. And I can't buy that. Using a Catholic Answers article? Well, Catholic Answers is a helpful tool, but they are not magisterial. I mean, technically, I'm not magisterial in this space, and I'm totally okay with that. Like, this is why if there's something truly heavy, I grab the books. Let's go get some... Let's see if we have some more wood over here that we can make more storage. Making the hidden assumption is a well-formed conscience. Right, yeah. If you have a well-formed conscience and it's telling you not to do something, well, you'll probably listen to it. But, you know... Yeah, conscience is a very important and interesting thing, and like, there is an element to which we do teach the importance of following your conscience. I mean, Aquinas says even if your conscience is leading you to sin, you should still follow it, but that's rooted in a different sense of what a conscience is than how we even use it in modern parlance. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a. I think that viewpoint is rooted in classical Thomistic anthropology, but not enough to fully articulate why, if that makes sense. Because, like, even Aquinas would say, okay, if you follow your conscience, that doesn't mean you just follow it blindly all the time. You still have the duty to form it and align it with the good ultimately. So maybe that act of disobedience to something improper is actually the thing that's leading you to obedience. We can't just boil it down to a simple formula. That if you do something you believe to be wicked for the purpose of being wicked. Okay, see, and that's a very different concept. Thank you for finding that, Kevin. Yeah, I mean, we do have that problem. And again, because like part of the difficulty is we're talking development of theology and language across several centuries. So it's like, you know, if Aquinas said, do this, and then we say it today, we're like, okay, well, are we saying the exact same thing? Free Fall and Ray Trace Minecraft. Thank you for the 23-month scale. If I'm a drug addict and my body brain wants more drugs, I should listen to it. Well... Yeah, that's a critical part of the discussion, is forming your conscience. I said shouldn't. Oh, well, yes, okay, yes. Sorry, the Twitch brain side eye only read should. I was like, ah! Do you guys have any flowers? Looking for your flowers. Thank you for your flowers. Now, Scroll, you've got me thinking there was a webcomic I saw a long time ago. Family does an intervention, and person in the middle is reaching out, being like, no, you guys don't understand. I need it. And someone in the family saying, it's okay. You can be free of your insulin now. It's like, that's not how interventions work. To do something neutral or good, even if you think it's wicked, doesn't make it sinful to do so. Yeah. No, I think, as Kevin the Reader pointed out, if you're doing it because you think it is wicked... I think these are white. Yeah. That should be a decent amount of light gray dye for now. Most wasps in your area are non-hostile. I refuse to believe that all wasps are hostile. It is the unique thing of Vespidae. Well, apparently sour candy won the poll I made, even though I was really stilted. But you know what? I stand by this because I like sour candy. Yeah, but I heard you bring up a good point, too, of, like, addiction does mitigate culpability because it does impact our ability to make choices. So, or if you're doing something neutral that you think is wicked because you think it's wicked, then is it sinful? I think at that point we could talk that there is room to consider it being sinful, but that's not because the thing itself is sinful, but because you are desiring to do something sinful. Or desire. You think you are doing something that's sinful. I'm gonna fill in this hole before I fall in it. Desiring to do something. You who have looked upon a woman with lust in your heart have already committed sin against her. Now, admittedly, understanding what we mean by desire and choosing it, like, because that is an important part of sin, is active choice. It has to be an act of the free will. But I think there's absolutely scriptural grounds alone to talk about desire, particularly holding on to desire. You know, if you're desiring revenge over someone, it's like, okay, well, maybe you haven't actively done something, but you know, holding on to that desire is maybe not the healthiest thing here, and not the good. So let's talk about it. Okay, I need to fly back because I need need some concrete and redstone, or not concrete, just some like trying to fly. I don't have my elytra equipped. Asking questions reminded me yesterday when you were talking about getting anointing of the sick for surgeries. I didn't even know that was a thing you could get. Yep. There are even specific prayers for it. Should I be considering for a colonoscopy? Ooh, that's a good question. At what? I mean, from one perspective, I think it is objectively good to always be seeking God's grace and asking God to help us in our life situations. So if it is of significant emotional weight to you, it's worth doing, if that makes sense. Emotional and spiritual significance. That's probably all I need there. Let's grab that. I think I need a hopper to do this. So the Bible encourages you to take revenge. Did I get that wrong? I think you may have gotten that wrong. I think you need to look again in the broader context. You know, maybe give the New Testament a once over again. As for a blessing or prayer, yeah, that's absolutely something you do. You know, a routine procedure where there's no risk and there's no need for recovery. You could talk about like, yeah, you know, maybe it's not so necessary, but you know, again, like it's God's grace. It's a good thing. But yeah, if it's a surgery, absolutely do a surgery. But yeah, there are also prayers. There's a little book called pastoral care of the sick that has, again, prayers and blessings specifically for surgeries and procedures, including certain blessings that lay people can do, which I got to do once with a woman in a hospital when I was a seminarian. It was kind of a beautiful moment. Because, like, obviously you can't do, like, the sign of the cross with your hand, but you can trace the sign of the cross over their forehead. I think I have every... Oh, I need a bucket. I need a bucket because we need to have some water. I don't know if I have a bucket lying around anywhere, so I'm just going to make one. Oh, and I need a trap door. I don't have enough to make a trap door, I think. I do. Okay. I think that's everything I need. Can priests give themselves anointing of the sick? Nope. They have to call up another priest. The only sacrament that a priest... Because properly speaking, no one can really give themselves a sacrament, except for two cases. Marriage, wherein the couple getting married are the ordinary ministers of the sacrament. And even then, they're conferring it on each other, in a sense, as well as taking it on themselves. It's a beautiful dynamic, but it's a hard one to understand sometimes. But yeah, the only other one would be, properly speaking, the Eucharist, at which a priest can preside sort of on his own. So yeah, it's the same rules like confession. I cannot absolve myself of my own sins. It occurred to me that sacraments of healing are the only sacraments that you don't need to plan before you receive. I mean, properly speaking, no one should be prepping or planning any to receive sacraments. So that's another thing. Well, there are some sacraments that, yeah, you should be prepped for. But, you know what I mean when I say that, like, there's a line in Scripture, there is water here, what is to stop me from being baptized? Yeah, that's good. Like, how does this work again? I know there's a way. Although he's persuaded Mass himself and partakes of the Eucharist himself, right? So in a way, he's doing it for the lady and for himself at the same time. Yeah. Right, no, that's what I'm... No, I understood what you meant, kid. I was just saying that maybe we should... There's room to talk about focusing a little less on the prep rules in the life of the church, but what do I know? I only work here. Okay, so I need... I'm trying to remember. There is a way to set this up where, like, you can have the water just barely, like, flowing through this way. I wonder if that would work. I had an idea. Because we need the water to touch the concrete. Nope, that does not work. You need the water to touch the concrete powder so that it becomes full-blown concrete. And you can set up the dropper. Well, I may just have to set this up off stream. I've set one up before, but it's been years. So let's do this the old-fashioned way. Let's go down to the river. Yeah, because what you do essentially is you set this up in one hand. You can kind of do this. Thrilling gameplay. But the reason you do this in a place with like the dropper on you is it keeps refilling your hand, so that you go through all of your concrete rather than having to pause and reset. Can people of importance in the office quit changing general insignificant things and make your job harder? Evidence proves the contrary, I'm afraid. It really matters that we spell Saint the same way out the diocese. No, yours not doing so. Well, there you go. Everyone needs a hobby. But that is obnoxious. UI developers cannot make a good UI that is justified the ongoing job so they can get constant revisions. It's called job security. Don't pet the sweaty things, excuse me? That's good advice, but... Twitch, let me vote chocolate! That was a while ago, Mel. I'm surprised you can still see it. So let's make the house about yay big. I want it to be a pretty narrow house. Why are there concrete blocks just flying everywhere? Because I'm working like a madman. Actually, I think we'll make it a little deeper this way. Return to Windows XCVII GUI. Mmm. 5-block spread seems excessive. I blame Minecraft. XP did have a really good GUI. TLI best? 90 degrees corners, no rounding. That is anesthetic. How much space did I actually give myself here? 10! Perfect! It's even. Found the unit Linux user. Yeah, we did. Eleven has a lot of quality of life features. The GUI is not one of them. Yeah. My I have a very basic all-in-one PC in my bedroom so that I can stream from my gaming PC. I am Conjurer of Davids. Does this mean we have to excise you? Appreciate the prayers. Gonna go out to urgent care. Oh no! Can't hear out of left ear. Oof, that's not good. Well, hopefully it's just yeah, just getting it flushed out. But prayers for you, Britt, for sure. Come on, the sun is setting. Let me go to bed. I did have fun with Linux in college. I'm also going to put the doors off center here. I'm going to break my own conventions. All right, you were an engineer. Yeah. I really like that Linux was like the first place I encountered multiple desktops, and there was I guess a mod is what I'd call it now, basically, where it would turn it into a cube that you could rotate and look at all your different desktops. Okay, how tall do we want this space to be? I think 3 might be good. Let's... What kind of engineer? I was studying mechanical engineering with an aerospace emphasis. How does that look? Height-wise, I think that's a good height. Maybe one more? Yeah, let's go with one more. I met so many priests who were former engineers. At least some engineering undergrad. Yeah, it's kind of a phenomenon. No one's really no one completely knows why. There are some theories for sure, but I mean, one of my classmates worked at ExxonMobil as an engineer. Is it Frank Lloyd Wright house? It should, if so, shorter ceiling. I'd say it's more Frank Lloyd Wright adjacent. You think shorter though? What? Because like right now, I was thinking ceiling maybe kind of that tall. But are you saying it should be maybe that tall? Lots of brain get through engineering undergrad. I think it's because of the processes, actually, honestly. I'm trying to think windows. Yeah, the windows are going to be very large open windows. So that's why I'm thinking one higher, because, like, if I go with this as the current ceiling, like, the windows are only 2 tall. But if I go one higher, then the ceilings get to be 3 tall. Which I think is more what I'd like. Orthodox priest near you has a physics PhD. Spent several decades studying radiation before seminary. Wow. Your proto-deacon is an engineer at ExxonMobil. There you go. Okay, so 24. So if we had 2 posts in the middle, that reduces down to 22. So we could do 7, 8, 7. I don't hate that. I guess I didn't need nearly as much concrete as I thought I did, because... Oh. Yeah, I still have to go all the way around the outside again. I can make this a window as well. I definitely want to use the birch doors here. I'm thinking for the flooring, the upper floor can use birch planks, and maybe the first floor can use oak planks. Yeah, this is a good start. How do I know? Because it looks like a parking garage right now. Another time when I hear a previous career priest or other career deacon, it's something weird and interesting. Yeah, priest would be like that. We attract the interesting crowd. Actually, we'll hang on to that because... make some birch doors. Because I think that'll go with the kind of light aesthetic that the whole house is going to go for. Let's throw some sand into the kiln. So the flooring of the one will be the roof of the other. Let's go grab some scaffolding. I think that's something I need. Found it interesting that a majority of priests who were once applied science background tend to have the best pastoral skills, which is not what I'd expect. Yeah, that's not what I'd expect either, honestly. Shout out to my fellow engineering type folks. I love you to death, but also we know ourselves. Brain. Scaffolding. Okay, so this is 12 wide that we determined. We're not people, so we work extra hard at doing so when needed. So I'm trying to think of how I want this spaced out. I guess it would be perfect to have that block of 7 just off. So what if I did it there and there? Like, just, like, so it would start here and would come back to 7. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for that. Oh man, I missed a great opportunity. I'm not going to gonna go back and change it at this point, but if this had been 8 wide in the middle, like this was 8 wide, it would have been perfect. User types tend to not be great with emotions. Softer side, but truly seen priests with that background are best at being a healthy mix of logic, directness, compassion, and empathy. No, I think that's entirely fair, and I agree with you now that you say it. Like, yeah. But it was also definitely one of those where I'm like, that's not what I would have expected, but you know. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, that's gonna be too close. So what if we did it here? So 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You think I'm well, aw, thank you. Can't hit me with the feels like that in the middle of Minecraft. I'm gonna melt. So I think this is where we're going to have it spaced. So I don't think I'm going to go back the full 7. How far back is this? 1, 2, just 3? I can do that. Let's go back 1, 2, 3. And over like that. You feel things, Minecraft characters don't have emotions. Oh no, I've been found out! And then this will extend way past over onto this side. I think I'm going to also replace this with slabs. And around the edge, we'll do upside down stairs. Give it a little bit of that beveling. Can't come back to some game. Well, thank you. No, I'm not supposed to have emotions. No. Now, I guess when you're in the upper level, you're actually going to have to... There will be this barrier just as part of the ground, and I don't hate that, actually. I think that's kind of interesting internally. But yeah, so I'm kind of thinking a design like that for the transition from the wall to the floor, or to the ceiling. Well, also to the floor. So we're going to need more birch saplings. Fortunately, we also have a ton of those saved up from building that, so... This whole area used to be covered in birch saplings. Or not saplings, just trees. So many glass panes. You know, it really pains me to do this. That is the appropriate response. Pain. Pain is a really good band, by the way. Check out their album Milk. 10 out of 10, would recommend. Also, the lead singer is now a Catholic theologian. Just sign for lawyers. The firm is called Push and Win. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, man, that's like... So, in Wyoming, there was this family clinic we saw once, and we're assuming this was a family name, but... And I've since confirmed it, actually. I looked it up once and found that the people in charge of it. It was Gooder Family Care. Gooder Family Care. Which, if you don't know that's a family name, sounds like a really bad typo. Apparently they're fighting each other. No! Push and Win. You were the chosen ones! Their name's Sue You. You know, Gooder. There you go. Anyway, Nanakit... Yeah, Nanakit has redeemed a father joke. Oh, man. I don't know how I'm going to follow up after all of that, actually. This one's not that funny. But you know what? We're going to go forward with it. What is a superhero's favorite drink? Fruit punch. They reunited. Oh, what a win. These lawyers are the worst. What are they, German? Worst German. Hey, we got Bart Purple. I believe that is the Advent Purple, if I remember correctly. Well, that's all the windows of the first floor done. Oh, don't worry. Meep Mass only has a minute cooldown. I did have to put a cooldown limit on those, though, because I remember when Meep first came out, the screen kind of got covered. Bringing the screen with Meeps is the point. What, you don't want to see me? I don't blame you. I mean, I could always, if you want Meep to cover the screen. Hey, we got see-through Meep. Could always do this. This is what Father Evan looks like when he forgorges his brain cell. If you can do Meep and Meep Mass at the same time, you can. You can break the timeline and have two Meeps on at once. VTuber Father Evan? No. Oh, where'd he go? Ugh. I have a VTuber model here somewhere. You want VTuber model, Father Evan? Is that what you wanted? You assumed it was many Meeps, not a Meep ready for mass. That's fair, but incorrect. I made that drawing for one of the Goths I was on. It had, it was Blake, myself, Churro, and Blossom. So two of them were VTubers. And so I said, you know, I'm feeling kind of left out. So I'd actually I drew that myself so that I could have a VTuber model. Hey, there they are. Hey, see-through Meep. Look at him. He can be the church. Wonder if anyone will use Loose for VTubing. That's a thought. It took so long for Meep Mass to appear the first time I saw it. I thought it was a joke that Meep went away for an hour to go to Mass. That would also be funny. Thinking a little porch made of wood here or something. No, not wood, something else. Hey, Mezokman, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Doing pretty well myself. Working on making a Frank Lloyd Wright-esque house. And I'm trying to figure out what material I want the front porch area to be. Like, do we want it to be more of the wood? Or do I want it to be a kind of stone? Let's see what we have here. Don't think I want to do the granite. It's too brightly colored. Could do like calcite or diorite. Could do smooth stone. I'm leaning towards just oak planks, actually. I need to find a time to come out and visit your museum, Mesozoic Mind. Oh, that's a pillager. Quick, hide. No, you can't see me. No, I'm behind something. You can't see me. Go away. Yeah, that's right. What is my armor made of? Can it be stone? My armor is made of diamonds. I could make diamond blocks, but I don't know if I want this kind of blue on the porch of the house. Rude. You're being most rude. The house is not ready for visitors yet, sir. You're actually heading to the slow season. Oh, okay. Well, that's a good time to visit a museum, in my opinion. They usually work there on weekends, right? You might need a stern word. I should name my sword Stern Word, shouldn't I? Pretty much your work day is Friday now. Ah, okay. Well, I don't stream on Friday, so that's that works. I should. Remind me to do that next time I'm at the main base. Good thing he cannot see through glass. Yeah, he doesn't know how to work doors. He doesn't know how to see through glass. Or just the word. I think I prefer Stern Word, but I think that would also be funny. So, do I want... What do I want the stairs to look like? I'm thinking maybe a floating set of stairs towards the front. So like starting about here and going up. So like you can walk in, you can have an entryway and then the stairs leading up, and then behind we could do like the kitchen area. Okay, my good sir, you made me do this. You would not leave my property. Have stairs look like piano keys. I think that's a little too kitsch. I did, in fact, choose violence. I chose digital violence. I will go to digital penance for it. That should be enough for now. If you have eyes in them, they could be stairs. That's a horrifying image. There's a lot in that, I don't want to unpack, so instead I'm just going to burn the whole suitcase. So I'm kind of thinking to mirror the door. So if the door is 1, 2 off. We're at the play. You're early. You're quite a bit early. Take a sleepy in the car then, I guess. If I put 2 free, it could be a bear stair. Sure could. These things you say are not untrue. That is how Mel slept in a car for a few hours. Well, fortunately, her mom is in the car with her, so I don't think she'll be there forever. Don't think I can sleep with them talking. How rude! But two grizzlies with no clothes, it'd be a pair of bear stairs. This is like that German tongue twister about Barbara and her rhubarb cake. Oh, we're walking in. Well, have fun. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. You'll take ant photos. Good. Oh, it's so bright with the ray tracing. Okay. We are making good progress. Although I just realized I may have screwed something up. We'll find out after we return after these messages. Okay, so that's where the wall will be. So that should be fine. But let's find out. Oh, just barely. Let's go. No scoped it. Yeah, it gets up to... It gets even crazier than that. It's pretty wild. Those Germans and their tongue twisters. I love the one about Oberammergau and Unterrammergau. Has like lines like Aber oder Oberammergau. Aber oder... No, Aber Unterrammergau oder Aber Oberammergau. Geschwindigkeitsregelung. Let's see. Regelung is like regulation, kind of just like Geschwindig. I don't know what Geschwindig is. Gesundheit. German is a great language. It's actually quite poetic, in my opinion. Like, Ode to Joy in the original German, 10 out of 10. Diesem Singer binden Weder, allen Brüder über Welt. I'm trying so hard to not audibly cackle. I think you should. Share the joy. He's trying to do the words for speed limit instead typed cruise control. That makes sense. Regelung, control, regulation. Geschwindet. Velocity. You watch the semi-secret while you work? Well, okay, don't out yourself that way then. Especially because you have a different boss than the one I met. Santi Opera, welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. Geschwindigkeitsgeberung. Well, that's actually even easier to say. Current boss would be less likely to be mad than the one I met. Well, okay. But the one I met, you could be like, oh, but you met him, you know. Okay, so this is coming along. We can actually break this away. Geschirr pulse machine. I'm guessing that's like blood rate monitor of some sort. Geschirrspul. No, it wouldn't, because that would have had Blut. So there was a German streamer on Twitch. He knows English. I don't know what he says 90% of the time. Yeah, it'd be like that. Dishwasher machine. Oh, okay. So we need more quartz. So we're gonna go have a little adventure. Maybe a little unnecessary to fly between these two, but you know. Gespüler is the one who washes dishes. Okay, so yeah. The Gespüler machine. Geschirrspüler. Okay, and there's my stairs. Because over this way is a fair amount of what we're looking for. Whee! Hey, Santi Opera, thank you for the follow. Welcome on in. Do you think that German is the main technical language because of how they literally name things? It works. Oh, it's always so sad when a bot gets through things. Squirrel, if you're still there, it happened. Squirrel was wondering if I had encountered any problems. I was like, no, I don't even have a whole lot of bot problems. Ooh, actually, I should be using this pickaxe because it has fortune. I haven't seen a bot for a couple months. Well, we just saw one. Or it was a real person, but either way. You come in selling viewers. You get blocked. Keine Maschine, ich bin ein Mensch aus Fleisch und Blut. Yep, I am not a machine, but I am a man of flesh and blood. Oh. Oh, I don't have any gold, so you get upset? Is that it? Is that it? Deal with it. That makes me think of Charlie Chaplin's speech at the end of The Great Dictator. There's a complicated movie. Sir, you need to pay the toll. He failed to pay the toll. Wo sind die Klingonen? Oh, you think you look cool with your gold pants? You know where they'll look great? In the lava. Nerds. Back in my day, the Nether only had one area. And there were only zombie piglins, none of these living piglins. Wo sind die Marshmännchen? Can we roast the Marshmännchen over the fire? No, 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 no. That's okay. No, 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 no. I do not want what you were selling today, Gast. Which I recently learned is literally just the sound designer's cat. Modified, but still. Kitty. No, no, no. You can leave me alone. That's fine. No, 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 no. Say the second half of Hail Mary. Cajun French. Ooh, Cajun. But Rammstein's popular song, of course, is just you have me, you have asked me. Yeah. As I even pronounced that well. Look, not all German is poetic, but, you know, there's a lot of poetic German out there. You learned Hochdeutsch? I think that's the normative. Not that crazy Austrian or Low German. Ah, heaven forbid. Oh, look, it rained. You know, I'm sad that Santi Opera was either a bot or just a spammer, because it's kind of a great name. You know, Opera of Saints. Who's spoken in the lower elevation? Yeah. Again, Germans with their technical naming of things. I learned Austrian and I'm comfortable with Czech German. Oh man, I haven't even thought of Czech German. I listened to a Czech artist, so I kind of know what Czech sounds like. And now I'm just trying to imagine that combined with German, and it's low-key wild. Where's my axe? You need to go chop down some birch trees. One of the wildest things with languages was, so there was a grade school, Catholic grade school and a Catholic high school that were both named for the local parish, but were run independently of each other. Like, they were not formally connected, and there was no literal sense of the curriculum of one flowing into the other. Now, they got along just fine. Like, that wasn't an issue. But the middle school Spanish teacher at the grade school was from Barcelona, and so she taught Spain Spanish. The high school teacher was from Colombia, so he, of course, taught Hispanic Spanish, I guess. Specifically Colombian, but, you know. Woo! Wild. Unlearning both Zoltroth. They use Vosotros in some Latin American countries? Really? Wow. I mean, I trust you on that. I never knew that because, like, our teacher's like, no, you will never use this. They don't use vosotros. They don't use that conjugation. Learn something new every day. Well, definitely the accents he had us practice with versus what she taught us were very different. Remember your host family in Costa Rica having to tell her family members not to use vosotros with us because they didn't learn it in the U.S. Fascinating. I stand corrected. After all these years, that's what I had learned. Well, thank you for that bit of knowledge. Those away. Let's grab these. It was a gratuitous educational moment, and I didn't even have to provide it. Seems widely varied. I could see that. And I could totally see if a professor or teacher were from a nation where it wasn't used and getting a bunch of students who have used it being like, no, this is a waste of your time. Oh! You are so rude. I thought you were a traitor, but no, you're a traitor. How is that for a little wordplay? I know, pretty terrible. He did hit me. Oh, there's more of them. Quick, hide in the church. Languages are incredibly regional. No, never. Languages are universal. Hit him with my torch. Sadly, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, you can't come in here. This is sanctuary. Deal with it. Wish I had another door I could sneak out of. Am I claiming sanctuary? I'm claiming this is a sanctuary. Hit him with my cooked cut. Why don't I hit him with my sword? Problem is, if he's got the banner, it could give me a curse. Priest cannot draw blood. You have to use a mace. Does exploding count as drawing blood? I could use a firework. That's also why they are forbidden from using syringes. Oh. Drive me closer. I want to hit them with my sword. That's a classic. In the latest update, you get a potion that grants you curse versus getting it straight up. Oh! Well, I still just want to let them kind of mosey on by. How do you see me? I'm in spectator mode. Normally everything ignores you in spectator mode. Gives you more control instead of accidentally triggering raids. That's nice. We like quality of life improvements. Hello, my good sir. Have you been helped? I will help you, my good sir. Oh no, he got helped so hard he fell down and went to sleep. No, I suppose I should add his ominous banner to the collection of others in the church at some point. Type of version of the trial rooms. I don't even know what that is. I'm very much into the crafting portion of Minecraft, I found. The adventuring part, like literally, I think Elytra had been a thing for years and I never got one. And normally, I probably would actually play on peaceful if it weren't for the fact that certain things only come from mobs. Which somewhat annoys me, but I can deal with it. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. This will set up where the windows get to go. Well, that weather turned quickly. Actually, I should grab this. And there's another birch door, because I want to make a patio, like, up on top of that. I'm pretty sure I have a spare birch door around here somewhere. Oh, look at that. I've got 2. That's right, because I use these in the sacristy. So I guess this one, the door, whoop, not there. Oh, I wish I had these doors. I guess I should have them here, because if I do it here, it's going to be way too tight, I feel, visually. Like, put some torches out for now, just so nothing spawns in the house and explodes. I'm thinking, I forget its name, but the rock that glows in the nether. Using that. Glowstone. That's the word I'm looking for. So now we have a little patio to come out on. I have a package waiting. Is this more candy? Should I be terrified? There is candy, but nothing new. Is it freeze-dried? Oh wait, I don't have to go there. I think I can... I think I have... some... Yes, some iron ingots here. It is also pineapple and mango. Ooh, thank you very much. There we go. Nice little patio area. Figure out how to do patio furniture later, but that's another stream's problem. This stream was mostly construction. Although my next problem is getting enough quartz. Quartz can be a bit of a pain to build with. Now, fortunately, with this modernist design, it's pretty minimal in terms of the block usage. Hey, Squirrel, welcome back. We're building a house kind of in a Frank Lloyd Wright-esque style. So right now we have this lower area, and the kitchen will be back there. Have a patio for the upper level, which will have the bedroom. So inside, kind of large, open, bright is the idea. I mean, it's rainy out, so that's why it's not so bright. But just like a house for me. Yep. Just a cool house to live in and be able to come up and sit on the patio and stare at the church. But then this section is going to get cantilevered off this way. It is a nice view, yeah. So right now we have this, so from here, 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yes. So that's where that will go to, and then it goes to the corner. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also, we were thinking of you, Squirrel. We got a bot trying to sell us viewers. Does it say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's one off. No. Consarn it. Yeah, I have to bring this one in by one. Guess I kind of jinxed it. Oops, it's all good. It just made me laugh when it happened. It was like, hey, squirrel, I was wondering about that. I do have a Silk Touch pickaxe somewhere, so I can safely remove this glass. So that won't be an issue. Then I'll have to remove the flooring as well from here and bring it in, but we'll do that next time. By having the walls where they are, I'll remember that things were getting a little off. There we go. But this gives us a good sense of how far out it's going to get cantilevered. So I'm going to... Just going to set that to clear real quickly. So that'll give us a sense of the scope of the house. Which we made really good progress on today. I think that's where we're going to leave it off for today. So thank you so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. It's been good to be with y'all today. Thank you so much to everyone who's liked, followed, subscribed, given bits, checked out the YouTube, the Discord, all that good jazz. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Tomorrow we will be playing a special surprise for Throwback Thursday, some Super Nintendo fun to celebrate Halloween. Gonna have a fun time. Next week, schedule is going to be maybe a little weird. So the timing-wise might be the same, but I'll be in DC for the week, and I might be able to use a computer there to stream. I don't know yet. I have to go down and actually see it. I'll probably just wind up playing Minecraft if I do. So I'll probably just have 3 Minecraft streams next week. Next Thursday, I will be back in person. We're going to be playing Super Metroid. So that'll be a lot of fun for Throwback Thursday for next month. And otherwise, I think that is it. If you're going to be in the DC area this weekend, are you teaching the Sems at CUA? A little bit. I'm doing a session with our seminarians. Since I'm going down for Doxicon, I'm staying around to lead their formation night on Wednesday. So it made more sense to just stay rather than go back and forth. But if you're in the DC area at CUA this weekend, hope to see you there because I'll be giving a talk at Doxicon. Should be a lot of fun. So again, thank you to everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and let's see who's live to raid into. You're dragging a seminarian to Doxicon? Nice. I look forward to meeting you in person. Am I older than any of the seminarians? I'm older than most of them. Actually, a lot of our seminarians are younger guys. Gonna send you on over to Willpog. He's a cool dude. Just kind of a chill streamer. He just does chatting, so just pop in and just give him a hi, give him a chat. He's a nice, chill dude. He's been part of the raid train in the past, so raid call will be probably just Father Raid, just the classic Father Raid with the Meat Morp if you've got it. So, all right, I'll see y'all again tomorrow. Take care and God bless.